This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
واصل الجيش اليمني حملته العسكرية ضد معاقل الحوثيين الرئيسة في شمال البلاد.
The Yemeni government continues its military campaign against the main Houthi strongholds in the north, which has led to 12 dead and 51 others injured, according to medical sources. Al-Arabiya's correspondent in Sana'a has indicated that the heavy bombardment that is continuing in the areas of Sada'ah is associated with military reports from both sides announcing the sixth war. As our correspondent reported, new fronts have opened north and northwest of Sada'ah, where the Houthis blocked the international routes and attacked military and government positions.
البيانات الصادرة عن الحكومة اليمنية والحوثيين تشير إلى دلائل اندلاع حرب سادسة.
The statements that were released by both the Yemeni government and the Houthis indicate the outbreak of the sixth war in Sada'ah. The High Security Committee, headed by President Ali Abdullah Saleh, announced that it is obliged to protect the civilians in this district after the local authorities called on the government in Sana'a to intervene and save the besieged civilians. Government bombardments continue in the regions surrounding Sada'ah in Houthi strongholds. Many residents were displaced from these regions, which witnessed fierce fighting that moved to desert areas. The clashes, which have been raging for 5 days in the provinces of Tara, Maran, and Shida, northwest of Sada'ah, where the Houthis have blockaded the route between the Saudi border and the border region of Razet, where the Houthis have besieged civilians and government centers. Although the disturbances have lasted 2 months, they have escalated in the days that the government accused the Houthis for not responding to peace appeals, while the Houthis accused Sana'a of committing up to 400 violations since last year's cessation of military operations. Observers say that the sixth war may extinguish the fire, especially because the doors for negotiation and mediation remain open. Safa Abdahi, Al-Arabiya.
Mutual accusations and clashes between the Yemeni government and the Houthis began 5 years ago. During this time, 5 wars have taken place, which resulted in the death of 4,000 people. Today, the two sides announced the outbreak of the sixth war.
5 سنوات مضت على بدء المعارك في محافظة صعدة اليمنية بين الحكومة وجماعة الحوثيين.
5 years have passed since the beginning of clashes between the Yemeni government and Houthi groups in the Yemeni province of Sa'ada. The government accuses Houthi insurgents for seeking to establish an Islamic state according to the Sa'idi doctrine, with the support of Iran. The insurgents accuse the government of attempting to eliminate their Zaidi doctrine. They demand the settlement of their situation and their participation in administrative positions. Hundreds of them stood trial with accusations of disturbing the country's security, conspiring with foreign states, and participating in combat with army forces. In 1986, the Union of Shabab al-Mu'min, which was deeply affected by the Iranian Revolution, was established. During the year 2004, tensions led to military confrontations. The 6 wars have caused more than 4,000 deaths. Hussein Badr al-Din al-Houthi led the insurgency in Sa'ada during the summer of 2004, which ended in September with his death. At the end of the year 2004, the second war began under the leadership of Badr al-Din al-Houthi, Hussein's father. It lasted 2 months. With the disappearance of Badr al-Din al-Houthi, his son Abdul Malik led the insurgency during the third war. This war began in late 2005 and lasted from February 28th to the year 2006, where he announced the signing of a truce that did not last long. A fourth war erupted in January of 2007 and ended after mediation by Qatar in June of the same year. This was followed by Qatar's declaration of the end of the war on February 1st, 2008. The truce only lasted 6 months before clashes reignited between the regime and the Houthis due to an explosion that took place close to a mosque in Sana'a last month. The government held the Houthis responsible for the explosion, despite the Houthis' denials. With this declaration, the fifth war began, and it ended with an announcement by the Yemeni president on July 17, 2008. Today, with the armed clashes between the two sides, they have announced the beginning of the sixth war, Munadribati al-Arabiya.
Tonight marks the 23rd birthday of captured IDF soldier Gilad Shalit, according to the Hebrew calendar, and it will be observed with a special prayer service at Jerusalem's Western Wall. Meanwhile, there have been rampant reports that negotiations over a prisoner exchange for Corporal Shalit may be gaining momentum, possibly including the controversial prisoner Marwan Barghouti. IBA's Eli Wogelenter reports.
Thousands are expected to attend a mass prayer service at the Western Wall this evening for captured IDF soldier Gilad Shalit to mark his 23rd birthday and 4th in captivity. The prayer service takes place amid swirling rumors being reported, claiming that an exchange deal to secure the soldier's release is close to completion. A diplomatic source in Jerusalem confirmed today that negotiations are underway, but stressed that it is still premature to speak of Shalit's release. On the other hand, the Lebanese Al-Akhbar newspaper reports that progress has been made and that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to resume negotiations from the point where they left off under former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. The paper says that a high-level Egyptian delegation will soon travel to Damascus and Gaza to conclude the prisoner exchange agreement. One name being bandied about as part of the exchange for Shalit is senior Fatah member Marwan Barghouti, who is serving 5 consecutive life sentences for the killing of 4 Israelis and a Greek Orthodox monk in shooting attacks by Fatah gunmen. 2 members of the Labour Party, Infrastructure Minister Benjamin Ben Eliezer and Minority Affairs Minister Avishai Braverman, have called for Barghouti's release, as well as Gideon Ezra of the opposition Kadima Party. But Sport and Culture Minister Limor Livnat vehemently opposes Barghouti's release, calling him dangerous. Aryeh Eldad of National Union called Barghouti a member of a murderous terrorist organization who should not be freed at any cost. And the Almagor Terror Victims Association, which represents relatives of those killed by many of the terrorists being named as part of any deal, has come out against tonight's prayer event for Shalit at the Kotel. Almagor head Mayor Indoor says the event is political and implicitly supports the release of terrorists. Eli Wogelenter, IBA News.
There has been a significant change in Israel's official policy toward another missing IDF soldier, Guy Hever, who disappeared from his army base on the Golan Heights 12 years ago at the age of 20. Well, for many years, Hever's disappearance was treated as a police matter. Now, for the first time, Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman has conveyed a message to Syria via Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, expressing Jerusalem's wish to obtain any information Damascus may have on Hever's disappearance. A senior Israeli diplomatic official said the appeal to Syria was made in light of the growing ties between Damascus and Washington. Decisions taken at the Fatah Convention demonstrate that Israel has no real Palestinian partner for negotiations and that the peace process is an illusion. Well, that's the view of Cabinet Minister Yuli Edelstein in his exclusive interview with IBA's Steve Leibowitz this morning.
I was shocked, first of all, definitely by Fatah declarations and decisions. If I could imagine still that they would claim that their strategy is combating Israel with arms, if their ultimate goal is to create Jew-free Jerusalem as the capital of the Palestinian state, and so on and so forth, it was still harder for me to imagine that they will still blame us for our death. But I was no less shocked by what we all know, that for the last 15 years we've been pumping into ourselves all the illusions about a decent and different peace partner, and the moderate Palestinian leaders like Jibril Rajoub and Dakhlan and Abu Mazen and the rest of the gang. What we see right now, that the same quote-unquote moderate leaders are those who are calling for more terror attacks on Israel, for more combat against the Israelis, the Zionists, and the rest of anything that is moving in this country.
The land of the two rivers woke up this morning to a new bloody day. 4 Iraqis, including a woman and an army colonel, were killed and 3 others were wounded in 2 separate attacks that rocked the province of Nineveh in northern Iraq. In addition, 8 Iraqis were killed and more than 30 others were wounded in 2 separate car bomb attacks on the predominantly Shiite Amin neighborhood. Today, amidst the renewed violence, the Iraqi security forces launched an intensive military campaign aimed at restoring security in the streets of Baghdad. The Iraqi government also announced that it will move forward with a plan to remove all concrete and separation barriers from the streets of Baghdad. The new government's decision is raising concern as the country is facing a new wave of violence. Muna Abu Diab reports.
Guaranteeing security and stability, a mission that doesn't exceed our ability. This is the message being circulated in the streets of Baghdad and its residential neighborhoods.
Our security troops have been fully deployed in the streets of Baghdad. Yesterday, the city witnessed some security incidents. Our troops have been put on high alert and they are ready to act, God willing.
This reassurance by the government, however, seems not to support the facts on the ground. Since the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraqi cities in late June, the cycle of violence has been increasingly gaining momentum. The level of violence has brought back to memory the era of bombings witnessed in the country. During the last month, nearly 310 Iraqis have been killed, with more than 160 in the past 10 days, a security development that is being undermined by the Iraqi government.
We drafted a comprehensive plan to reopen several main streets in Baghdad. We also removed many of the concrete barriers, which were staged during the period of bombings witnessed in the country.
The Iraqi government said it will move forward with a plan to remove all separation barriers, which have been part of the capital for nearly 6 years. The concrete barriers were built in cooperation with the U.S. forces in order to curb sectarian violence in the city.
We will be able to see the old face of Baghdad. This will reassure the residents. This brings a memory from the past, the memory of Baghdad before the barriers.
The Iraqi government said that the removal of barriers from Baghdad will be completed within 40 days. However, it remains to be seen whether Baghdad will be able to maintain its new look, especially amidst the new wave of bombings.
Hi, I'm Jamal Dajani. I just want to take 30 seconds to remind you that Mosaic is only made possible with your support. Watching the news these days, you may even think the conflict in Iraq is over, but not if you watch Mosaic. For us, the war isn't something that happens over there to others, it's something that affects all of us every day. And as long as that's the case, we promise to use our resources to bring you these uncensored stories. With your support, we can keep this promise to you. So when you're done watching this episode, consider making a donation to keep programs like Mosaic alive. Thank you.
The postponement of the referendum on the security agreement between Baghdad and Washington continues to create political reactions and fears that this postponement will eventually lead to the cancellation of the referendum altogether. Ali Kais has more details.
The referendum on the security agreement between Baghdad and Washington, which was supposed to take place in the end of July, was postponed so it can be held with the parliamentary elections. Some parliament members said that the postponement will likely lead to the cancellation of the referendum, especially when considering that all political parties in the Iraqi parliament voted to postpone the referendum. They said that the postponement is due to the fact that the Higher Election Committee was not technically ready to hold the referendum.
It's true that they did not specify the date by the end of the year, but they asked for a postponement for technical reasons. They do not have hidden intentions to cancel the referendum. All political parties voted to postpone the referendum.
Postponing the referendum will not affect the security agreement because the American forces will withdraw from Iraq by 2011, regardless of the results of the referendum. Parliament members said that the security agreement includes an article that allows the American forces to stay inside of Iraq for 1 year if the agreement is rejected.
Perhaps the reasons for the postponement are related to the costs and lack of technical preparations. The referendum will be held when all Iraqi citizens are supposed to vote. They can either accept or reject the security agreement. Regardless of the results of the referendum, American forces will still have to withdraw from Iraq by 2011. Therefore, the results of the referendum will not affect the situation at hand.
The American decision to withdraw from Iraqi cities shows that they are serious in implementing all parts of the security agreement. This means that the Iraqi government has the responsibility to hold the referendum on the security agreement on time. Ali Kais, Alsumaria Television.
Yesterday, the Abbas administration launched a new round of arrests of leaders and supporters of the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, in various districts of the occupied West Bank. More than 16 people were arrested, including prominent figures and leaders of Hamas. These arrests were mainly carried out in 2 districts, Al-Khalil and Ramallah. Knowledgeable Palestinian sources confirmed that Fatah leader Sultan Abu al-Nain, the Secretary General of Fatah in Lebanon, and Abbas Zaki, member of Fatah's executive committee, had arguments and quarrels at the morning meeting during the 3rd day of Fatah's 6th Congress in Bethlehem. Disputes inside Fatah are not a new thing. Since its establishment in 1965, the organization has been through violent conflicts that even led to the purging of some of its leaders.
الخلاف الأخير ما قبل رحيل عرفات كان ما بينه وبين عباس ودحلان.
The last dispute that took place before Arafat passed away was between Arafat on one side and Abbas and Dahlan on the other. Abbas and Dahlan were behind the disturbances in the Gaza Strip in July of 2001, and its consequences remained after Arafat passed away. Their goal was to remove the late Palestinian leader or turn him into nothing but a symbolic figure without any real power.
ثم إرغامه على استحداث منصب رئيس وزراء.
Arafat managed to stay in control despite the siege that was imposed on him in the Muqata'a, but then he was forced to appoint Mahmoud Abbas as Prime Minister and Muhammad Dahlan as Minister of Interior. It seems that Fatah's memory is very short. Abbas and Dahlan's power struggles against Arafat were not a secret during that period of time, despite all of his efforts to suppress them. Nevertheless, Dahlan made headlines in the media. When the clashes in Gaza broke out, which include the kidnapping of officials and foreigners, the attacking and burning of security centers, the Financial Times devoted a half-page with a big cartoon for an article titled, "Will Muhammad Dahlan manage to bring down Yasser Arafat?" The main headline in Al-Hayat newspaper carried an article in its edition on August 3rd of 2004 with the title, "Sources close to Arafat accuse Dahlan of concocting a dangerous plan to oust Arafat within 3 months." Meanwhile, the Israeli newspaper Yediot Ahronot quoted General Aharon Zaevi, head of the military and security intelligence at the time, saying that Muhammad Dahlan's plan was premature, therefore it wasn't successful. This was a hot topic in Al-Hayat in its edition on August 4, 2004. The Kuwaiti newspaper Al-Watan at the same time quoted Dahlan saying that Arafat is sitting over the dead bodies of Palestinians. This was not the first time that Dahlan has attacked the late leader. He started these attacks in late May of 2004 in an interview with the Egyptian newspaper Al-Ahram, which titled the interview with one of his quotes, "My flesh is bitter and Fatah is not a byproduct for Arafat." This is how the uncontrollable internal conflicts and lack of mechanisms have created an unprecedented situation in Fatah that threatens to diminish the power of the organization and consequently eliminate the rest of its assets. It's strange that those who staged a coup against Arafat are now calling to sort out his organization's affairs.
Palestinian cinema was chosen as the honorary guest of the 25th Alexandria Festival, where Jerusalem was celebrated as the city of Arab culture for the year 2009. It was attended by several Egyptian and Arab artists. Details with our correspondent Najwa Yunus from Cairo.
Palestinian cinema was chosen to be the honorary guest of the 25th Alexandria Festival as a way to reaffirm Jerusalem as the capital of Arab culture and confirm its Arab identity.
احنا اخترنا بالإجماع السينما الفلسطينية كضيف شرف لهذه الدورة من المهرجان. أولاً هذه الدورة هو
We unanimously voted to include Palestinian cinema as an honorary guest in the festival. First, we decided to choose Palestinian cinema as the honorary guest because this festival coincided with declaring Jerusalem the Arab cultural capital.
شرف للمهرجان. الحاجة الثانية ده السبب احنا ليه اخترنا السينما الفلسطينية.
The other reason we chose Palestinian cinema as the honorary guest of this festival is because of the many Palestinians living in the diaspora who were able to make their voices heard to preserve the memory of Palestine, thus keeping the occupied homeland in the people's conscience and minds through cinema.
The festival called on several symbols of Palestinian cinema to participate in celebrating Palestine. There were several seminars designated to discuss the most important films that expose the Palestinian issue, among them Layla's Birthday, Salt of the Sea, and other films that not only impacted the Arab mind, but also minds all around the world. They are films that reflect the bitterness and pain of the people who are strangers on their own land, whose freedom is robbed 100 times a day by injustice and the apartheid wall.
Really, I'm happy for what the Palestinian cinema has achieved. This change that took place in Palestinian cinema was not sudden. It was a gradual development. Palestinian cinematographers aren't just concerned with the occupation. They're also concerned with all aspects of cinema, the art of cinema, the language of cinema. Of course, the theme is political. This is obvious. The subject of occupation exists and no one is going to take it away from the film. But they must also express the subject through creative cinematography.
The Arab world is honoring Jerusalem as the cultural capital of the Arab world, not just for this year, but for years to come.
Choosing Palestine as the honorary guest of the festival, especially at this stage of the Alexandria Festival, is a huge honor, especially when considering that Jerusalem is the Arab cultural capital. I just came from the Wahran Festival a few days ago, and they have announced that it's not just the cultural capital of Palestine, but the eternal capital for Arab culture. It is important that Palestine is recognized and honored at this round of the Alexandria Festival. Honestly, this is a great thing and an honor for us.
No matter how far we go, the homeland will remain rooted in our existence and our consciousness by a love that cannot be disturbed by anyone or anything. Najwa Yunus from Alexandria, Palestine TV.
بدأ 400 من جنود المارين
400 U.S. Marines backed by helicopters began launching a ground offensive in the mountains of Helmand province in southern Afghanistan. The objective is to seize control of Taliban bases ahead of the presidential elections set to take place in a week.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Marine commander leading the assault said that the operation aims to support and provide security to the Elections Committee and the Afghan forces so they can assume their responsibility in the upcoming elections.
عمليات عسكرية مكثفة للقوات الأمريكية.
U.S. forces launched intensive military operations targeting Taliban fighter strongholds in Afghanistan ahead of the presidential elections. 400 U.S. Marines, backed by 100 Afghan troops, began launching an assault in northeastern Helmand province, a key Taliban stronghold. Helmand has been targeted in a series of U.S. military operations over the past month. U.S. forces, backed by British troops, launched a wide-scale offensive in Helmand, which is considered to be the most violent region in the country and a key hub for the production of drugs.
أكبر عملياتها هناك فهو أكثر الأقاليم الأفغانية عنفاً.
The Taliban is being accused of reaping the benefits of drug production and using it to fund its military activities.
من عائداتها في تمويل نشاطها العسكري.
We are trying to liberate the town of Dajani from the hands of the Taliban fighters who have been in control of the area for several years. Dajani is the most important town in this region, and by liberating it, we will liberate the local residents from the influence of the Taliban so they can lead a normal life.
هذه العمليات العسكرية تستهدف أيضا تحسين الأوضاع الأمنية لإجراء الانتخابات الأفغانية.
The military operations also aim to improve the security situation ahead of the Afghan general elections, which are set to take place in a few days. The Taliban has threatened to hamper the elections by attacking the polling centers or by terrorizing the residents so that they won't participate in the voting process.
وعلى الرغم من الضغط العسكري المتواصل على مقاتلي طالبان
Despite the military pressure on armed Taliban fighters, the movement was able to intensify its attacks on foreign troops, as well as to expand its influence to the areas previously not under its control.
فقد ارتفع عدد قتلى قوات التحالف في أفغانستان إلى 25 جندي.
The death toll over the past 10 days among coalition forces has risen to 25, which is an unprecedented casualty figure in such a short period of time.
في غضون هذه الأيام القليلة.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.